what God has prophesied to me for the women, okay? And the only way I can do it is to read it because I don't want to miss what he has for you, okay? So, one of the things that he said to me is that we're transitioning and that we're moving, okay? So as women, we have to transition. In this journey of his journey of transitioning, we need to transform. And we need to reposition ourselves, okay? Which means he is requiring us to move to another level in our walk with him. I have equipped you and I have prepared you. I have asked you to trust me, to believe in me, and to have faith. Never lose hope and know my grace is sufficient. So, in that, God has put on my heart to let you know is that in our walk with God, in transitioning, we need to trust him. And I know that he has deposited things in your heart, whether it's desires, things that he's requiring you to do. I know I told one friend at work, he's going through a lot. I said, man, you should be on fire, because I know God is turning up the heat on you, you know? Because he is asking us to do things, and for whatever reason, we're not transitioning, we're not moving. And he wants us to move to that next level. Only you know what that is. I don't know what's in your heart. Only you know what you have to do. So I'm going to do a little exercise, and I want you to close your eyes. And then what I want you to do is, I want you to reflect on what God has said to you, things that have happened in your life that you know you need to make decisions for. For whatever reason, you haven't done that. Okay? So I want you to think about, what is God requiring you to do? I don't think it's a different speaker. What desires has God placed in your heart? What is he asking you to take a leap of faith in? And ask yourself, why isn't it that you're doing that? What has he promised you? What is it that God is saying to you? What has he promised you and you know is from him? What are you believing for? Is it for your family? Is it for your friends? Are there friendships that you need to reconnect? Friendships that you need to let go? For your job. Should I stay on this job? Do I need to leave this job? Is there some things I need to confront on this job? What is it that I need to do? For your marriage. Am I believing for my marriage? If my marriage is strained? Am I believing if I'm single, I want to be married? So, am I standing firm in what God is telling me about that person that he wants in my life? Relationships. Are there relationships I need to mend, or are there relationships I need to let go? For our children, what is it that God is speaking to you about your children? Are there some things I need to confront with them? Is there some things I need to mend with my children? Think about it. For your health, are there some hard decisions that I need to make for me in order to move out in the things of God? Okay. I want you to open your eyes. And as you compartmentalize those things, whatever those things are, I just want you to reflect on 1 Peter 5:7. He says, give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you. And I think what happens is that God gives us all these things, and they bombard us. And he's saying, I need you to move, I need you to act. And for whatever reason, we feel stagnated and we don't do it. Or if we want to do it, we don't know how we should do it or what steps we should take. So, I'm going to talk about Queen Esther, because that Queen Esther has been on my heart. And for those of you who don't know the story of Queen Esther, she's a Jewish girl who is placed in the harem by the king of Persia because she's beautiful. If I had to say in our words today, I'm sure she was knocked down, dead gorgeous, okay? olive skin, beautiful, probably had a wonderful personality. And for whatever reason, he caught her eye. So she was part of his harem because he was looking for a new queen. In the preparation for her to become queen, it took a year for her to be paraded in front of him. Now, I don't know about you, but a year of beauty treatments, I think I can stand a couple, because I like to be pampered, but it was a year of beauty treatment. So for him for her to be able to be paraded in front of him. Okay? So he chose her as queen, and then you have, of course, a villain in the whole story, okay? And that's Haman, all right? So Haman is egotistical, he's vindictive, he is self-seeking, he is the king's right-hand man, okay? So I forgot to say this part, that Esther was Jewish. And so Persia, they didn't think very highly of Jewish people. Matter of fact, they thought very low of them. And so she had to keep that a secret. So when he chose her to be part of his harem, she did not disclose that information because her cousin Mordecai asked her not to. Well, Haman cannot stand Mordecai, cannot stand the ground he walks on because Mordecai is not going to bow down to him. He's not going to worship him, and that's what Haman wants, because he thinks very highly of himself. And because he is Jewish, he decides, you know what? I would like to kill all the Jewish people. And the person I want the most is Mordecai. But in order to get him, I am going to ask the king. And what he did was ask the king, basically, you want to get rid of these people. These people are not good for the kingdom. You need to get rid of them. And so he signs an edict to say, okay, get rid of them. Okay? And so now there's a genocide in the country against the Jewish people. Mordecai warns Esther, and he wants Esther to do something about it because she is close to the king. Well, she sends a message to Mordecai and says, I can't. The king has to summons me. He has to request to see me, and he hasn't done that. Because if you would go before the king, he would kill you if you spoke to him or talked to him, and he did not request to see you. So she had to be, he had to ask to see her. And so this is where I'm going to step in and read verse 13 and 14 to you. Mordecai sent this reply to Esther. Don't you think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you will escape when all the other Jews are killed? If you keep quiet like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place. But you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this. Okay? So, first of all, he tells her, don't think for one moment that because you're in that palace, that you're exempt, because you're not. Because the bottom line is that you're still Jewish, and your people are going to die. And if you don't do anything, God will bring somebody else to do it. And that's just like God. Because sometimes what God has placed in our hearts and we know to do, we think it's an arduous situation. I don't think I can step over there and do that. It's not quite working out the way that I thought it was going to work out. It's not a smooth path for me to get from one place to another place. And what I'm saying is to make one decision to do whatever it is that God is asking you to do. So it's not going as smooth as I would like. So therefore, you know what? I'm just not going to do anything. It's not a good time right now. So I'm saying to you, don't think for one moment God is going to let you off the hook. Because he's not. And so what happens is you'll be at this juncture again and again, every time. And you can't escape it. And you wonder why you can't, because it's something he placed in your heart. And because you're seeking him and want a relationship with him, he wants you to go to the next level. And that's just the bottom line. As hard and sometimes as difficult as it is. Only you know what God has placed in your heart. And so what he's saying to you is, for such a time as this, Christine, I need you to do this. For such a time as this, Corey, I need you to do this. And because he's asking you to do this right now, what happens in the story is that Esther people are freed, okay? She asked that, everybody pray. They go on a 3-day fast. Okay? So sometimes we don't know what to do. But we have each other. And so sometimes we need to bounce off of each other what God has put in our hearts and say, you know what? I don't know what to do. I'm kind of stuck right here. I'm a little afraid. I want to do what God has asked me to do, but I don't really know just yet what I should do. And so sometimes you just have to go to God and you have to pray. And you have to fast. And you need some clarity. You need to ask God, can you forgive me for my sins? Anything that would hinder me from this to come to fruition, whatever it is you want me to do. So I know that we are at a place of transitioning. And because we're at a place of transitioning, He wants us to move. We can't stay in the same place. That furnace is going to be turned up, and it's nothing you can do but make a decision. And if you do something, even if you think, I'm doing the right thing, I'm really not sure, God can turn it into the right thing. And that's the scary part, is that we always think I got to get to A, from A to B, and it has to be a smooth transition. And you know what, girl, that was God, because it was all worked out. It was like, I just got there, He just had it all planned for me. And sometimes you got to take a crooked road, go over some mountains, I don't know, get out of your car, get on your bike, I don't know. Walk a little bit, run a little bit, but God wants you to do something, okay? And He will honor that. So, sometimes the deliverance is not for you. It's for somebody else. So, for Esther, it was for her people, okay? But for you, it can be for whatever it is that's in your heart. It could be for your children, it could be for your family, it could be for whomever. For such a time as this, He wants you to do something, okay? So if we talk about Ruth, He uses the most unlikely people to accomplish His plan for what He wants and His purposes. Ruth was a Moabite, not part of God's chosen people, yet she was willing to leave her home to care for Naomi. I don't know about you, but when I moved to Phoenix, I wasn't trying to hear that. My husband was saying, we moved to Phoenix, and I said, Phoenix who? Era who? Where is that? You know what I mean? When you live on the Midwest. And so I was just kind of baffled that God would tell him to move to a place that I know nothing about. So Ruth says to Naomi, where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will become my people. And then she says, your God will become my God. That's good. Because I wasn't there. I was not trying to hear that. And I love my husband dearly, so I came kicking and screaming. Kicking and screaming. For like 2 years, kicking and screaming. And I know that I was a thorn in his side. I know I was. And Paul said that if, he could live with that thorn in his side, could do the will. I wasn't trying to live with a thorn in my side. I was trying to get to where I needed to go, which was back home. So Kevin says to me, you know what, Toni? Then go. I mean, it wasn't even like an argument. It was just so calm. He said, you know what? That's probably what you need to do. So you probably just need to go. And I looked at him and I said, but you need to come with me. I didn't understand why he was saying I need to go. So then he wasn't going, so I wasn't going. Because I love my husband, but I wanted him to go with me. So I stayed, and I said, God, if you want me to stay here, you got to make this better than what it is. It's got to get better. And he did. And I can't imagine. I was telling Desiree, right? That I can't imagine leaving now that I've been here so long, And I think about if I would have left, what I would have missed out on. I have to take a few minutes because I have wonderful friendships that I love dearly. I have the church. I have all of you. I mean, I can count endlessly, being here in Phoenix, Arizona, okay? A place that I could not even make. Our 10 did not even connect. I said, what kind of place is this? I can't run through every state except Arizona. And there it is, I just couldn't believe it. Right? Where'd you move me to? Yeah, you got a governor calling people pickaninnies and stuff. I was like, what? I got a Martin Luther King holiday. Like, I was just, so, for me, there was a lot of reasons reasons that I thought, why would I live here? But you know, I can't imagine living anywhere else in my life. Okay. So, I just wanted to share that.
That's not how we believe. The governor may have believed it, but that's not how we believe.
Right. But when you come here, that's all you hear. You have it on the radio and this and that. So I get it. And I'm not chalking it up to everybody in Arizona was this way, but that was my experience. And one of the things I would say about Ruth is that God rewarded her for her faithfulness. He made a provision and he gave her a husband. Okay? And I don't know about you. I don't know if I would have moved across country with people I don't know. Don't care, don't love them. They don't love me. They serve a different kind of God. But yet, because of her faithfulness, and he loved her for that, and just her kindness, that he rewarded her. And he gave her a husband to take care of her, which is awesome. I was watching this movie. That's my favorite pastime these days when I'm sitting on the couch. And I like the movie Untouchables. How many of you seen it?
Oh, yes.
And if you haven't seen Untouchables with, you know, Kevin Costner and then Sean Connery. So if I remember names, it was a good movie because Sydney can tell you I can't remember the title of the movie. So one of the things about this movie is they after Al Capone, and I like those kind of gangster type movies. And so Kevin Costner plays Elliot Ness, which is a true person in Chicago, and he's trying to catch Al Capone. And Sean Connery is one of his police officers that's in a group with him who's also trying to catch him. And he asked him often, what are you prepared to do? He says that a couple of times in the movie. He asked Kevin Costner, you want Al Capone, but what are you prepared to do? And he looks at him and he's like, well, I'm going to follow the law and I'm going to do what I need to do. He said, no, what are you prepared to do? And he's saying that you got to go much further than that. You can't just do enough. Oh, I'm going to have a relationship with God, I pray, and you know, I go to church every Sunday, you know, I worship, hallelujah, and I do all this other stuff, right? And I expect God to do something. And he's expecting you to go further. He's asking you to go beyond. He's asking you to spend some time with him. Read his word. Meditate on his word. Fellowship. Some people think it's just enough to come to church every Sunday, and that's enough. It's not enough. I get my most fulfillment and insight and wisdom in talking to people. And when you're talking, you get caught up, and before you know it, it's like, woo, you know, that was good, you know, and it's good conversation. And it's just having a relationship with God. And that's what Women of Radiance is about, is having a relationship. I can't imagine coming to a group or talking to a group of women, and I don't know their names. I can't remember a whole, who was that? They talking to me, and I'm like, hey girl. And you know, we do that. And we in and out. And so you have to develop relationships, and that's so important. So, in conclusion, because we have lots to do, is that you do not want to be going around that mountain 40 years.
Oh, no.
With the same issues. I could say that 40 times, but I'm not going to. And some of us do. There are things in my life that I say, you know what, if I knew what I knew now, then I'd be so much further along. That ain't true, because I wasn't ready. And God is ready when you're ready. You know what I mean? So you can't move if you're not ready, right? So yeah, we don't want to be going around that mountain. God gave me this revelation some time ago when I first broke my arm. And it says, faith will take you to a place that reason will never allow you to go. And that is so true. Faith will take you to a place that reason will not allow you to go. Reason will stop you from doing whatever it is you need to do. We look at the facts. We look in the natural. The things don't line up. I'm not doing it. That equals I'm not doing it. It doesn't make sense. And anything in God does not make sense. And if you're going to reason with God, then you won't do anything. Not gonna do anything. And so we can't sit and reason. We have to have faith, we have to trust Him, and we have to believe in Him. Faith does not eliminate the difficulties, but it does help us navigate through it while we're trusting God to deliver us through it. What challenges have you set before you? What challenges are set before you? So I want you to ask yourself that question. And I want you to go to God and ask God, like, help me to be able to move in the things that you call me to move in. Amen?
And this Christmas will be a very special Christmas.